So I've been working on my editing skills and it's not there yet, but I hope you like the B-roll. We'll be making bagels today, and the cream cheese and your own cured salmon. Before you start, let me warn you, this whole process will take around 3 days. Alright, let's get to it. In a bowl, we will put together the salt cure mix. Just give it a good mix and make sure all the herbs are distributed. Now we prepare the salmon by patting it really dry. I am using 200 grams for each fillet. Make sure it's really clean and dry, and if you see any bones, just pluck it off. Now lay a piece of plastic wrap on the table. Sprinkle some curing salt on the base and put your salmon skin side down. Now we want to generously cover the whole surface of the salmon flesh. Make sure it is very well coated. This is to prevent any bacterial growth and makes the curing process more efficient. So use up all the salt we prepared. Now lay the second piece skin side up so the flesh is again touching all the salt. Of course, don't forget to coat the sides as well. Once all the surfaces are coated with the curing salt, we are gonna tightly wrap it. Try to squeeze out as much air as you can and have it really just jam-packed with all the curing salt. The salt is gonna draw out the moisture from the fish, creating a much more intense salmon flavor and giving you this very unique texture to the fish. As moisture is being drawn out of the salmon, there is gonna be a lot of water that's gonna leak out during the process. So make sure you really seal it tight. Go double wrap it, triple wrap it, otherwise your fridge is gonna be full of salmon liquid and it's nasty. Check that all the salt is distributed everywhere, and as usual, good luck, pet! Place your wrapped fish on a plate and try to get it as flat as possible, and we will put this in the fridge with heavy weight on top of it. This will help again with the curing process, drawing out the moisture from the fish. We will cure it for 3 days. Always flip your fish every morning and every night. If you start to see water pooling up, just throw that and wrap the fish with a new piece of plastic. A great reveal! Woo! It's so pretty! And that is your very simple cured salmon! I definitely need a sharper knife. So again, I lost the footage, but just mix water, yeast, and honey into the mixing bowl and let it rest for 20 minutes until you see those foams. Dump in all the flour and salt and take your dough hook and we are ready to mix. On the lowest speed, just keep stirring until the dough sort of comes together. We will now let that rest for 20 minutes. Resting the dough allows the flour to hydrate with the water, making it softer and easier to knead. After the rest, we will let the mixer go on medium-low speed. Once you see it come together into a ball like that, drizzle some oil slowly into the dough. And we will continue mixing for another 15 minutes or so. Once that's done, take your dough out and roughly shape it into a ball. You can feel the dough is really tough and dry, but this is what is gonna give you a very dense and chewy bagel. We let this proof on the table or in a bowl, completely covered for 40 minutes. It is important to completely cover your dough because it dries out really fast. After the proof, we are gonna divide it into 4 equal pieces. Take each piece, slightly flatten it, bring the corners into the center, roll it over, and shape it into a nice, neat ball. Try to drag the base against the table, so this will give you a very tight ball shape. The dough is already really dry and it does not require any more extra flour on the surface. It is important to get that really nice tight ball so the bagel can retain its shape. Once you have all 4 balls, cover them again. Don't forget the corners. Take 1 ball, press your thumb into the center, and poke a hole. Once your thumb can go through, extend the hole by slowly stretching it out. Follow how your dough is moving. Do not overstretch, just do this slowly. You can grab the ring and gently give it a squeeze to shape it so it's quite even. And you want the hole in the center to be pretty big because when it proofs and bakes, it's going to puff up and that hole is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Even letting it rest, you can see it significantly grow smaller. Do the same for the rest of the balls. And again, I can't emphasize how important it is to make sure your doughs are constantly covered. Even the base, also just tuck the plastic underneath it. This is gonna proof in a fridge for 8 to 14 hours, so any exposed surface will be dried out immediately. I know 14 hours or 8 hours is a long time, but it's really worth it. The texture of the bagel is so much better. So smooth and shiny. Trust me. At least 8 hours, okay? Ooh, after that long wait, we are ready to bake the bagel. But before we do that, we gotta boil it first. Get your stuff organized as this might get quite messy and hot. Prepare a new baking sheet, a draining rack for the boiled bagels, and a saucepan filled with water that can submerge your bagels in. Get some slotted spoons to help you lift the bagels out. And for the toppings, I'm just gonna do a very simple black pepper sprinkle on top. If you like a more fancy toppings, check the description down below for the recipe. Once the water is boiling, okay, let's take a minute and admire that beautiful bagel. Okay, water is boiling. Plop your bagel in and make a big mess as usual. Do it for all of them, and we'll cook it for 2 minutes on each side. Use your spatula to help you kind of flip them around. Also notice that it actually really puffs up, so make sure you use the saucepan that is big enough to hold them. Otherwise, cook it one by one. Boiling the bagel gelatinizes the surface of it. This creates like a jelly-like texture, and when you bake that, it becomes this chewy crust that is a signature on a bagel. If you prefer a less chewy one, just cook it for a minute and a half, and you're good to go. Once it's done cooking, transfer it to the draining rack before putting it on the baking sheet. It is quite sticky, so try to be as gentle as you can, as you do not want to crush all the poofiness. Now it's time for the toppings. I'm doing the good old black pepper as it complements the salmon really well. With all the bagels ready, we'll put it in the oven. Transfer to a cooling rack, and while we wait for these to cool down, we will make the cream cheese spread. Put some cream cheese in a bowl and chop it up into smaller pieces so it's easier for you to mix it later. Sprinkle on some garlic powder, some dried parsley, and salt and pepper. If you have any other dried herbs you want to add in, go for it. Get a whisk and whisk it all up. Once it's all even and fluffy, you are done. Now we can assemble our sandwich. So, congratulations if you finally made it through the entire process, from the bagel to the curing of the salmon and the cream cheese spread as well. And as usual, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.